Hey, what's going on, everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics. Got another video for you today, and had a request to do some drawings on arms. I know I've done some in the past, but it's always good to practice anatomy. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that with you today. So get your pencils out, or your crayons, or whatever you're into, and let's get going. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is measuring objects with other objects. I'll start off with this kind of basic method. I always align the wrist to the shoulder like this. So you can see that little relationship there. The hand can go up, from there. You get your opening for your wrist or whatever. If it's easier for you, do your cone method like we've talked about in other videos, kind of like this, and that'll show you your basic structure of the arm. Um, if not, I like to do a bit of a rope drawing also, where I'll just kind of, because I've drawn plenty of musculature arms, I kind of have an understanding of where the muscles go and how they, react in relationship to one another. So I'll just kind of start drawing it in. And the rope method is just like, like say here, I know I've got the end of my wrist or whatever. So I kind of just draw down and do the bend of the back of the arm. I know that the elbow points off down here. So I bring that back, and then as I bring this back over, one shape that keeps in mind that I keep in mind that the arm kind of goes like this, and then the tricep or trapezoid, I believe, kind of comes around that like that. So just little things like that. There's this little hint of the bone that shows through behind the muscles right there. I've got that bicep a little bit too big for that size of an arm. Bring that up to there, and so on and so forth. So the rope method is just where you kind of grab a certain area, and then you remember the relationship of where it starts and where it ends, and you kind of draw that in. So whatever is your preferred style, just try different things, go with a few different techniques there. But the main thing is just practice, drawing the various arm poses from your muscle magazines, your comic, your favorite comic books, whatever the case may be. Some draw some of those anatomical reference guides that you'll see. You can Google those, and you're gonna see like the pictures with just like the body all stripped down without skin or whatever. So medical illustrations, those are great reference. Kind of just combine all those things together, hodgepodge it together, and make your own little, you know, rendition of what you want your anatomy and your characters to look like. Some people are going to be more prone to want to draw their characters overly bulky and balloon-like in musculature. More of a meathead style than, say, a gymnast style. Um, I know I've kind of switched. I prefer drawing more like a gymnast athleticism. I think if anybody could pull off the moves that some of these superheroes do, it would be a gymnast, right? Somebody that has major control of their body's ability in all the various ways, from limberness to athleticism and strength. If you got the guy that's all, uh, the guy that's hacking and spitting in the gym just to get big, that guy's immobile. He can't use that muscle. He's going to be more likely to kind of get, you know, trounced trounced on or pounced on by the gymnast style if he knows how to use it. So whatever. That's just my opinion. Take it as you will. But and then sometimes you're going to want to draw the big hulking beast, and that's going to be you know your you always got the big muscle bound brute inside the team settings, like when you're drawing X-Men, you got to have Colossus obviously and stuff like that. um, but then you also got to be able to draw skinny wiry guys if you're going to draw characters like Spider-Man or whoever, just to keep the variance in the characters. So back to this. Basically, I kind of sketched that out just real fast, and I probably should have explained a little bit more of it. But I'm trying to show you the process in which I draw this type, and I'll do a few different styles for you here, or different poses, but I don't want to get too much into the abdomen here, but you see how I just kind of threw that in real fast. It's almost second nature to fill this stuff in because I draw it so often now. So you see how I threw that in, and how I round certain lines, I straighten out other lines. If I want this arm to pop out, I'd throw a shadow right here, just little things like that. Okay, so let me go ahead and size this down, move it off to the side, and I'll work on another one for you. Okay, so what you want to work on is your most common muscle poses. You want to try obviously your basic relaxed poses, but then you want to do your flexed um, you know he's picking something up, or he's um, throwing a character through a wall or whatever. So you want to practice a variant. So here we've got, I'll call this one obviously a flex pose, and you can see how the bicep even you know curls up into more of a ball. You could actually even show that off more real quick. Let me show you by tensing up the bicep like this, and then there ends up being a bit of a gap right there from the forearm to the bicep when he's really flexing. You look down at your own arm and see that. So you can over accentuate stuff like that by showing the separation there. Don't feel you always need to draw every arm like this where it's bicep forearm connected. um, there's a lot of shots where it is going to look like that, but there's shots where you're going to see separation. There's shots where it's going to totally cover other aspects of the arm. So you got to remember that in foreshortening. So okay, this one will do more of a flex pose. Now I always start off by drawing kind of the shoulder shape like this. Um, Again, I would do that box method, but I feel comfortable doing this pose without it, so I'm just going to draw it out for you. Um, and from this particular angle, the bicep appears to be a lot larger. It's also a more relaxed arm position, so the bicep's going to appear to be longer in nature, as to where here it's a lot more condensed, okay, or tensed up or whatever. So let's see, I'll go ahead and bring that down, and then how do I want this to look? Let me give myself some more room here. Okay, so let's say he's just kind of got his arm to his side. You still want to make the guy look muscular, but not, you don't want all your characters running around like they're just always tensed up. That's a tough thing to do when you're drawing muscles, because it's real easy to, as you're drawing muscle upon muscle, to overdefine them and in turn make your character look very stiff. So it's a nice subtle combination of drawing your muscles and then not overly stiffening up the character where they look like they can't fit through a doorway, uh, without turning sideways. So like that's about it right there. I can keep, naturally I want to go like, oh, I want to see the muscles go here, here, and here, but you got to stop yourself. And I think that's about it for, to me, this would be still a relatively defined muscular arm, but not getting too crazy with all the various lines and detail. I might go in a little bit further and still add the veins, because there's a lot of people that uh, can be veiny and not be flexing, so you can still add that and get some more definition. Throw in your miscellaneous veins, kind of like this. They just kind of string along and go all over the place. And then you usually just shadow one side of the vein like that. The side that's towards the light, you leave blank, and then any areas where it hits, say, another muscle, you just kind of do a little shadow in there. And they're real easy. Once you get in the habit of doing them, you can fill them in pretty quick and make them look pretty believable. So that's I wouldn't add a whole lot more shadow. I'd probably add a little bit of shading at the bottom of the what's that called? Deltoid? Yeah, I believe it's the deltoid. The bottom of the deltoid, and obviously once I go to do my line work, I would add some more, because you want to round this form out a bit. but and then a little bit at the bicep like that, stuff like that. But again, I wouldn't overdo it because that's when it's going to start to stiffen up the pose of the arm and make it look like he's trying to flex when sometimes you just want a relaxed position. You know, maybe his hands just kind of to the side or something like that. And you know, the other thing is to try to draw the fingers real uh, fluid and loose also. That'll also lend to the relaxed position of the arm. So if you draw the fingers extremely stiff, then it's going to make the arm look stiff. So, which I shouldn't have started this hand because now I want to finish it since that looks like a horrible hand. I promise you guys I can draw hands better than this. I'm focused on trying to explain the arm at this point. So yeah, that's one horrible hand. Boy, yoy, yoy. Here, I know what I'll do. Arr, Captain Hook. Okay, sorry. Probably didn't think that was funny. So very sorry. Okay, so, hand shape. We're just going to have this guy kind of holding a semi-clenched hand. Not clenched, but just, something like that. Even though I said, we don't want to draw an overly tense. I guess it's not too tense. It's not like he's balling up a fist, so something like that. So there. Okay, let's get another one out here because two's not enough. It doesn't show much variation. But here we got one flexed, one kind of down by the side. One's an inside shot of the arm. One is an outside shot. What else could we do here? Let me think. It's so tough because there's so many possible poses you could do with the arm, but then every time you draw on superheroes, it's like you always want to do the same ones. It's just hard to try to change it up. So let me think here. I guess a somewhat foreshortened pose would be good to show you. That's where it really gets tricky to draw the muscles anyway, so let's try that. The other thing to take note of with these two, I just want to touch on before I move too fast and forget to come back to it, is a big part that will make you realize, look at something and say something's not right, is proportions. For instance, the forearm on this arm is a bit small, so let me grab that, and that's where you want to look at reference and get your proportions down first, because it doesn't matter how cool and how awesome you draw something and you shade it and it's like, man, that's totally rocks, but something is immediately going to stand out, or everybody's going to notice when the proportions are off. So get those right first. So the relationship from object to object, again, the wrist should about line to the shoulder. Also, the shoulder's pretty darn big. If you start studying your anatomy and your characters, you'll realize that the shoulder is pretty much the full size of the bicep tricep area. I've seen a lot of people that don't take notice of that, and then they end up with this little tiny shoulder, this big huge biceps, big huge triceps, and they get this little tiny shoulder connecting it, and that's a no-no. That's going to definitely stand out. So it doesn't matter if the rest of the arm is somewhat correct. You got to have that nice sturdy shoulder to hold it all together. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying my proportions are correct because I struggle with proportions actually, but it's first noticing these problems then addressing them, right? So just keep that in mind. All right, so for the last pose, what did I say? Foreshortened type pose. I typically always want to draw the hand first when I foreshorten, so let me go ahead and try doing our hand wedge shape that I explained in some of the other videos. Just this kind of block shape of a hand coming out at you a little bit, openings for the fingers, this kind of thing. And then the arm, I'll make this one where even though it's foreshortened, you'll be able to see a lot of the arm, because if not, it kind of defeats the purpose of showing you how to draw the muscles. So to me, this is the top of the forearm, this part right here. So what I'm doing is I've got that bend, I've got the two little strip muscles that come from under that part. They disappear quickly behind the hand, but I draw them in there to show that, you know, that's where I'm focused on as far as my positioning of the muscles. To me, the forearm does kind of this shape from this perspective. I don't know what you want to call that, like a bird flying sideways through the air, but it to me it's this top muscle right there that's beginning to define, and then rolling into the bottom larger part of the arm, which would be this part from this angle. So that might be a little too defined. Another thing you can always do is if you think something's too defined, break up the lines like that. Try it that way, uh, and go back and forth. Do some parts where you think it looks good, solid. Other parts where you break up the lines. It just kind of helps you envision not drawing everything with a straight line around it, like traced. You want to get away from doing that, especially the more realistic you're trying to get your artwork. So okay, so the bicep here comes through, kind of rounds down. I guess the tricep would kind of poke through at the bottom right there, and then I picture again the shoulder being nice and dominant and large, even though it's getting covered up a bit by the position of the arm. It still has to be strong, and it actually, um, I don't know how to say this. It overlaps. It doesn't line up to this part of the bicep. It comes way over. Then you see the tricep again from this side, and it disappears behind the forearm like that. I'm not saying this is perfect either. Again, I'm not looking at any reference. I'm just going off, the old brain box here. Now the chest actually connects. It's good to think of the chest and the shoulder as one unit, really, because it pretty much is. I mean, all your musculature pretty much interweaves and connects, but the chest and shoulder are very much part of one another. So, and especially from this angle, as the arm raises up like that, your chest will lift with the shoulder, um, and it kind of does one of these deals. I won't draw the whole chest, but it just kind of lifts up. It plateaus or straightens out at the base, and it connects upward to the shoulder, and then the top muscle here, or I don't know, this portion of the shoulder kind of divots down and then hits right there. And without tracing out the shoulder like this and making it look ridiculous, Control Z on that, I'll just usually draw, like, say, that portion of it, and then I might take a little bit of the bicep and do this number or something. But you got to be real sparingly with all that. It's also where I may erase something and just throw in some lines, or hint towards the shape but not trace out the shape. I really want to stress that, because I notice that in a lot of a little bit more amateur style artists, and I notice it in my earlier stuff, and even today I have to force myself to not do it. You just don't want to constantly draw a straight line around your work, your especially your anatomy. But if it's something technical like drawing a gun or drawing machinery, then I can kind of see it. Um, but definitely not in anatomy and organic type stuff. You want to have a lot of broken up lines, a lot of line variation, different line weight to bring your stuff out. And yeah, it's just FYI. So again, probably throw a shadow under here to make that arm pop out and show the depth of the chest to the what's that back there? That's the trapezoid, right? Your wings, delts. Delts are up here, bicep, tricep. I don't know what the heck the forearms are other than forearms. And then, yeah, I think your trapezoids are the wing muscles that pop out on the side there. But research all that, because I'm not great with the terminology. But yeah, that should be hopefully enough to get you started and have you mess around and do some poses yourself. As far as the fingers here, you just kind of keep doing these cylinders. I generally, from this pose, I would actually draw the hand like this now. I would take it and bring it out as these three little twigs, like this. It helps me envision the way the hand's going to shape, and then I painstakingly draw each segment to the finger, overlapping backwards until I get my shape. I generally erase and redraw layers over top to get this just right. Fingers are tricky, man, so you got to practice those. I'm sure this doesn't look like it's coming out that great to you, but I've done this so many times now, I can actually see into there. I'll show you when I zoom up. And the part I'm looking at if I was to go around it right now, is this would be, oh, I guess I could erase the middle parts and show you. You see how I can start to pinpoint where the lines I want to keep are, and that's the beauty of drawing digitally and creating these layers and doing this effect. You can work that out. So eventually I would actually pull a decent looking hand out of that, even though it looks like a discombobulated mess. Alright, so there's some arm poses for you and some musculature. Now if I had to ridicule myself here, I would actually start to look at this, and you know what? The more I look at this particular part, the tricep wouldn't show through at that angle like that. In fact, oh, another thing to keep in mind is that the thumb and the bicep almost always line up, especially at the base where it connects to the forearm. As you turn the thumb, the bicep follows with it. So that's what's making me look at this bit of arm there in the tricep and going, you know what? You might just barely see that, very lightly. Um, Let me see if that looks any better. Little something still off there, but mess around with it. I just wanted to give you some basic understanding of how I look at the stuff. Hopefully that helped. Be sure to like and subscribe to the videos. As always, be sure to tell me what you'd like to see in the future. I do respond. I do actually listen. That's kind of my thing to give back to the YouTube subscribers that stay with me, is like, you know what, I'm actually here for you. I do respond, and if you're cool to me, I'll be cool to you, and that's all there is to it. So thanks very much for watching. Be sure to check out robertmarzullo.com. You can find me at ramstudios1.deviantart, and yeah, it's good, it's fun, it's real. Thanks for watching. More to come. Keep drawing, keep having fun. Bye.